Okay, welcome Gerry Viggiani from Lotus Blossom Psychotherapy. Your topic is Defy Superwoman Syndrome, the art of setting appropriate boundaries and limits. I'm looking forward to the presentation, Gerry. Go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you, Therese. Okay, so I call this Superwoman Syndrome because I think many of us can relate to this idea that we feel like we have to be perfect at everything, do everything the best that we can, be everything for everyone. And what winds up driving many of us into therapy is this idea that we can't do that. So it's too much, and it's too much to expect for ourselves. So this is a greater or wider topic that I could talk about a bunch of different things, but I'm going to focus on setting limits and boundaries because I think that's a great place to start. So this just talks a little bit about how we're busier than ever. Now we're adding in, if you have children at home, becoming a teacher as well. And that it doesn't allow us to have balance in our lives, right? To be able to sit down and have a nice meal, to exercise, to eat right, and to get the rest that we need. And unfortunately, that has a myriad of consequences, both to mental health, but also to your physical health. Being on the go all the time can create elevated blood sugar, higher cholesterol, and heart disease. Okay, so I'm trying to speed through this. So if anyone wants any further information, don't hesitate to email me. So according to the CDC, the percentage of adults who often felt overwhelmed, tired, or exhausted in the past 3 months, and they have that broken down by sex and age group. And so as you might not be surprised, if we look at the women categories, we far outweigh men in this feeling of being overtired and exhausted. So the goals in reducing the impact of Superwoman syndrome, and as I said today, I'm going to just talk about limits and boundaries, but what are we looking to do? How we can change our thinking and interactions with others, which will definitely improve our situation. The benefits of letting go of perfectionism, dropping some of the balls that you're juggling, and you might be surprised that once you are able to let go of all these things that you can do, or having to be perfect at all those things you can do, that negative impact will be released. Helping you to decide which balls can be thrown to someone else and which ones that you need to stick with doing, and or which ones you could just get rid of altogether. So how do we do that? We bring in the practice of self-compassion into our lives. So self-compassion allows us to bring in common humanity, the idea that we are good enough, and allows us to let go of that perfectionism. We can also do it by challenging traditional role models. Sometimes this perfectionism comes from this idea of what a woman is and how she should do things. And then what we're going to talk a lot about today is learning how to set effective boundaries and limits and the power of the word no. And we can do a lot of that by delegating. So what I'm going to use to illustrate this for today is an actual modality that I use in my psychotherapy practice that I'm highly trained in. And it's something called dialectical behavioral therapy, or DBT. DBT was written for a certain population of mental health, but over the years they have stretched that out. And I just truly believe that anyone and everyone can benefit from dialectical behavioral therapy. So this particular modality is broken down into 4 different sections. And the one we're going to focus on today is interpersonal effectiveness skills. So Marsha Linehan developed DBT, and she loves to use acronyms. So this acronym is DEARMAN, D-E-A-R-M-A-N. So that's how it's broken down. And she took some liberties with the acronym. So DE is for the concept of describing. So when I want to set a limit with someone, right, by saying no, or if I want to ask for some things, because a lot of times us women feel like we can't ask, right, that we should be able to do it ourselves. And as you noted, or Ivy said, part of my ability to be where I'm at is this ability, this idea that it takes a village, right? So how do we express that no, or how do we get our needs met in an effective way? And the big part of this is letting go of judgment. So the DE is for describing. So when we're describing, we're doing that without judgment. So if I want my husband to call me if he's going to be late, right? I'm going to stick to the facts, Jack, right? Please call me if you're going to be late because I worry. Not you're a jerk or you're this or you're that, right? It's just using clear and concise terms, I statements. So I need you to complete that project today instead of you never complete anything on time. Expressing your feelings and your opinions. So again, using those I statements. I feel this because of that. And then the next section is A. So this is a formula that you can actually write out for yourself and rehearse before you actually set a limit or a boundary. A is for assert. So asserting your wishes, asking for what you want, or saying no clearly. We should never make the assumption that someone understands or knows inherently what we're trying to communicate. They can't mind read. We have to explicitly explain that. Don't beat around the bush. Say exactly what you need with no hems and haws. So I would like a raise, or I'm unable to do that for you today, instead of I think, well, I'm not sure, but, right? That leaves this room for an argument back. It looks like you're not really sure about what you need. And so we need to clarify that. And sometimes we might even need to practice what that sounds like so that we feel confident in what we're trying to communicate. R is for reinforce. So what are the positive effects to them if you get what you want, or if they comply with your limit? So what's in it for them, right? What's the sugar on top so that they are willing to comply? So you can either share with them what the negative consequences will be. So it reflects on the bottom. It says, I will be a lot easier to live with if you could pitch in and help with the dishes. Right? So there's the reinforcer. That person's going to want you to be someone that they want to live with, right? Or you can have them feel good about the decision to give you what you want or need. So that might look like, thank you so much for your help. I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to stop here just for a second. And if maybe Ivy can tell me, does anyone have any questions before I keep going? No?
I don't think so.
Good, I'm very thorough. All right. M is for being mindful. Again, that liberty there, right? Be mindful. Keep your focus on your goals and don't get distracted. So what usually happens when, let's say I say to, I delegate a task to someone at work, right? They might start arguing back or giving maybe reasons why they can't do it. Or maybe they'll even escalate that to a threat, right? Or a comment on my personal stature or abilities, right? So being mindful is being mindful and staying focused on your goals. So I would still like a call if you were going to be late. So example, maybe this husband says, well, I can't just get up in the middle of a meeting, right? And it doesn't matter. My goal really is, and this is so important to me, I still would like a call. And being the sort of the broken record, right? You just keep repeating the same request. Sometimes we might need to table it till a better time. Let's say that things are getting really heated. So part of being mindful is also recognizing that maybe I'm kind of, or they're kind of creeping up into this red zone where they're not listening to you anymore, right? And so if you decide that you're going to table the conversation till maybe later that day, then it becomes your responsibility to follow up with it, right? And to not let it go. So again, that's another way of making your point. Sometimes we just need a timeout. Or we need to go ground ourselves. Again, all part of being mindful. A is for appearing confident. So not only in the concept of asserting ourselves isn't just the words we're saying, it's our stance. It's how we're communicating that. So if I'm like sort of hunched over into myself and I'm not making eye contact and I've got my arms crossed in front of me, right? That looks like I'm either A, ready for a fight, or I don't look like I am really confident with what I need, right? So there's something that we do in therapy sometimes called the Superwoman stance. And really that's, you know, shoulders back, boobs out, hands on hips. You don't have to do the hands on your hips. Palms open, right? And so ready for, you know, that communication to happen. This is really what I need and want. Instead of, again, I'm not sure, I'm sorry, but I guess, right? So we want to be confident. And then the N, which is the last part of this skill set, is to negotiate. So negotiating does not mean you're backing down from what you're asking for. A lot of times, the negotiation I have planned out ahead of time. Right? So I can offer and ask for other solutions. So maybe can you text me instead, right? I'm still getting my need met, but I am considering the possibilities that it can't be met in the way that I want it. So I can either do that again by offering or asking for other solutions, by reducing my request in some way, by saying no to their solution, but still being open to another solution that might work. So in our example of the husband not calling when he's late, how about if you can't call, that you text me? Or if you can't think of a solution, turn the tables on the other person. Put the problem on them to solve, or have them come up with some solutions that may work. And you needing to be open to that. So use what do you suggest we do, because I am unable to continue doing what we are doing. And I think that that's important, again, because we don't want to be an ogre either, right? Especially with people that we want to continue to have a relationship with. But at the same time, it helps us to stop being a doormat too, and have the ability to set our limits and boundaries, and also get our needs met in more effective ways. So again, that was a very short talk about a kind of complex skill set. But what I like about the Dear Man, and again, I have that infographic I can send you, is it's a formula that you can follow. So it's going to feel like you have to do it with intent to begin with, but then your ability, once you practice it more often, it will just come. So here's my information, and
Thank you very much, Gerry. A lot of people are starting to pop off because